Exploring theology, doctrine, and all of the fascinating subjects in between, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, Dead Men Walking starts
now.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dead Men Walking podcast. Thanks for coming along on the ride. Thanks for joining us, sharing with a friend, bringing glory to God, watching us on YouTube, checking us out on Twitter, Instagram. Well, it's X now, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up for you in 2024. Still haven't done our year-end program, and we're getting into the end of January here, but we'll put that together soon. You guys can kind of have some highlights of 2023, some of the guests we had on, conversations. It was good stuff. As always, you can find us at dmwpodcast.com. That's where you can support us. Buy some merch. We got some snarky tees out there. The Wine 'em, Dine 'em, Romans 9 'em t-shirt is always popular. Conversation starter. We appreciate it. And also, we have a sponsor of the show for the next 3 months, Jacob's Supply here in Temperance, Michigan, but they ship nationally, guys. Quality building products at discounted prices. I'm talking 30, 40, 50% off appliances, roofing, flooring, lumber. Don't go to the big box guys. You got to call Jacob Supply first. He's a Reformed believer. I go to church with him. He's just a great guy. You need to support him. It's jacobsupply.com, or you can call him 734-224-0978. And they can hook you up. Right now they have Core-Tech flooring, premium vinyl flooring on sale. Everyone else is selling this for $8, $9 a square foot. They got it for like $250, $260. I mean, you can't go wrong. If you're a church, if you're an influencer at your business, you're flipping houses, you're doing renos, you're doing renovations on your house, got to call them. I just did a really cool outside grill station with some metal roofing, some lumber. Got it all from Jacobs. So jacobsupply.com, or call them at 734-224-0978. We appreciate those guys being sponsors. They allow us to do things like go to the conference next month on why Calvinism, Tullahoma, Tennessee. We'll be bringing that to you guys later on in February, but that allows us to do those things, and we want to support those brothers in the Lord. If you got to spend your money, let's spend it with believers that are building things, glorifying God, building the kingdom. There we go. So now that we got the business out of the way, we got to get right to the episode. Yes, I'm coming off a Detroit Lions win over the Bucks. That was great. Any of you that have listened for any amount of time know that I'm in Michigan. We say undisclosed location at the top of the show, but let's be real. You guys all know where I'm at after 4 years. It's we probably should change that. But yeah, they're going to face San Francisco. I will admit we had small group last night, started at 6 o'clock. Our small group leader said, some people are coming in late. Let's watch the last 2 minutes. We wrote it out to 6:15, started small group late about 15 minutes, and then got into a really good study on Ecclesiastes. But it was a great win, and that was fun. But I don't want to talk about that too much. It's a family episode, and by that I mean you guys know who this guy is here that I'm going to introduce. If you've listened for any amount of time, I've said it many times on this podcast, 2-3 episodes in April 2020, this guy messaged me. He said, hey, I like what you're doing. I want to support you. Anything you need, brother, let me know. Early adopter, couldn't have been nicer, very supportive, helped me along the bumpy way in the beginning of a podcast almost 4 years ago. Got to meet him down at the G3 National Conference in 2021. He's the host of the B.A.R podcast that's biblical and reformed. Got a new podcast coming out that we're going to be talking about. It's the one, it's the only, Dawain Atkinson. How are you doing?
What's up, brother? Thank you so much for having me on. And also, congratulations, man. I was rooting for you guys yesterday. Man, it's just a good time to be in the state of Michigan, man. Y'all win the national
got the natty
national championship. Yeah. I like y'all, man. I've always been a fan of that area. As a kid, you get to, have certain teams, and I like the Fab Five when they were there at Michigan. Sure. And, I like the Detroit Pistons at one time, so. And Barry Sanders, so it's all love, man.
Yeah, it's cool too because kind of the two teams that have really given us some popularity in the last 20 years is the 04 Pistons, which made it, won the championship, and they were all, their motto was get to work, no superstars. You had the Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, all those guys. Tayshaun Prince's, and then the Lions kind of mirror that as well. Mirror in the city, man. Grit, get to work. No one's getting paid tens and 20 millions of dollars. I mean, they'll probably get paid after this year. Let's be honest, but
right,
just getting to work, which really does, man. I worked in Detroit for the first 3 years of my real estate career, and just a gritty, just sometimes stubborn to a fault. I mean, I was valuing houses that were worth $7,000 burn downs, and then right next to it, a gorgeous pre-1900 brick ranch with wrought iron fence, and it's next to a burned down drug house. And I would talk to the people, and they go, "Look, this is my city. I've been here 7 generations. Right. We ain't moving. That's why I take care of my house and my property, and I don't care what's going on around me." And it's turning around, man. They've got some good leadership in there. I think it's reflected in the sports team. And I want to see cities like Detroit and some of these, when you're politically on the right, or if you're more conservative, you kind of people like to see cities fail like that. Go, oh, see, they're all Democrat strongholds and liberals. And it's like, man, those are people in those cities. And, when you have wise and righteous leaders, the people rejoice. And when you have unwise and unrighteous leaders, they groan. So Detroit's making a comeback. The team's doing good, but we didn't get on here to talk about football, though we probably could for the whole episode. Sure, but I got to know about this new podcast coming out. Listen to B.A.R. B.A.R obviously been around for what? Well, you going on 7 years on that? 8 years? I mean, you've been around a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
man, we've been around a little bit. We're actually coming up on 10, man.
10. Oh my goodness. Oh, so you were a vet. You were a vet when I started. Yeah. And I mean, some exclusive interviews that you've done. Sometimes people only come to you to talk about certain stuff. We were talking about that before we started recording. So guys, if you're listening to this right now, pause it, go find B.A.R on anywhere you find podcasts, and at least subscribe to that. Start listening to those episodes. I'm a big supporter of Dawain and what he's doing. But I want to know about this new podcast. Give us I don't even know the name of it. I don't even know. You just said, hey, I got something new coming out. I said, come on, we got to talk about it.
Absolutely. So before, I can't talk about a new one without giving kind of an update on the B.A.R. The last year, I have a new job, which is in fitness and also social media, also podcasting. And so I wasn't able to get as many interviews, or my schedule didn't permit. So I have to carve out a space to shout out my man David from Exposit the Word. He actually reached out and said, "Hey, Dawain, I'd love to guest host your podcast." He came in, guest hosted my podcast. He's been doing it for the last 6 months. Also had to shout out Nick. Nick does all the audio engineering, and also Jessica Clark. She does all the video. So anything you see with the B.A.R podcast, Dave is doing an amazing job.
Yep.
Still getting amazing. It's like some of the people he's getting on the interviews, I'm a little jealous. Like, he's getting people that I used to chase, man. He seemed to be getting them pretty easy, man. So he's still amazing guests. You just don't get my voice every time, but it's still the same stellar. I always call it the gateway drug to Reformed theology. Is the B.A.R podcast.
Still the same quality brand of the B.A.R podcast. Yeah,
absolutely. And that was my vision, man. I always wanted to be bigger than me. I always wanted to be able to go on without me. And so I'm super grateful to God that that's the case. So the new podcast, man, it was one of the many things birthed out of the pandemic. Everybody was locked in, and I had 3 really good friends that I met through social media, because of the whole reform. And we actually met for the very first time at G3, like a lot of relationships. And we were connected, and we started doing family Bible studies. We picked Friday night. We'll get on Zoom, all 4 families on Zoom, and we would go through books of the Bible. The first one we did was Romans, and we literally walked through verse by verse through Romans. Then we would do other studies. And you know me, man, I'm always looking and listening, and I recognize, good podcasts. Reason why I reached out to you way back when I saw you had something good, man. And so I noticed the chemistry between me and these 3 other brothers. And I was like, man, we need to do a podcast. And of course, people that aren't used to being behind a microphone and camera, it's a lot of twisting arms and bringing it back up. And so finally got them on board, man, and we created what we call the 4 Truth podcast, man. And we launched it a different style, and we'll get into the details, but that's just kind of the background or the genesis of it, where it actually came from.
And you said 4 Truth podcast? The
number 4. Yeah,
number 4.
Because it's 4 of us.
4 of you.
Truth podcast.
And what are we going to be talking about? Are we going through the Bible? Are we taking like theological subjects or Bible verses, or is it just life, or what is it?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. So the approach we're taking, we all come from the same background, which is the Word of Faith, charismatic movement, and so we're
Mm,
actually taking kind of I guess you could say hot takes or hot topics, like different evergreen things that are still going on. Like the very first episode is called "Snatch from the Fire." Just talking about our story or coming out of that. We all have similar backgrounds, but we all have there's different details. And the next episode is the gospel, and we talk about what is the gospel, and what is it not, and the importance of it. So it's more topical,
yeah.
but it's super evergreen because those we still fight with and deal with bad theology all the time, and so it's definitely relevant.
Yeah. Can you shout out the other three guys that you're doing the podcast with?
Absolutely, man. So I have to start with the one I known the longest. His real name, he gonna get me, is Willie Ward, but his nickname is Snap.
Okay.
Snap is in where's Snap? Santee, South Carolina.
Okay.
He's a wise old country fella
Yeah.
that has a distinct voice. You'll definitely recognize Snap as soon as he start talking. Then I have to shout out Ryan. Ryan Watson is in Columbia, South Carolina. Ryan is he's our in-house theologian. He's the reader writer. And
Hmm.
then my man Maceo Biggers is in Ohio, and Maceo is the bodyguard. He's about 6'5", about 230 plus. And but no,
Keeping everyone
Maceo
in
is
line on
definitely,
the podcast, huh?
yeah, man, yeah. But no, Maceo is a lover of the word, man, and he always have really good input.
So has any of the episodes launched yet?
Yes. So, like I mentioned, this is a different kind of a launch. I am a fan of 90s R&B and hip hop, which we'll talk about later. But
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to release this podcast like an album. This
Interesting.
is side A of this podcast. Everybody remember the cassette tape? If you
Sure.
don't, I'm aging myself. It's okay. It's a little thing you put in the car and had a little tape. So side A of this podcast, and this has 5 episodes that all dropped on the exact same day, so you can listen to all 5 episodes. We've already recorded side B, and we're going to drop that at a later date, and that'll be the end of that album. What's really unique about this podcast is each intro song is not just the same old thing. Each intro song gives you kind of a prelude to what the episode is.
Mm.
So I have to shout out my man Jonathan, aka Sound of the Rain is his rap name.
Okay.
But every episode begins with a verse that tells you what the episode is about. And the very first I guess you could say episode on the podcast is what we call the table of context, and it is all 5 verses put together in one song. So it's super musical, sort of, kind of, something I'm really excited about. And I
Yeah.
also have to shout out Buddy, my man Buddy. He actually took the hard work of the audio engineering and editing off of my shoulders, and I'm grateful for that. And he did an amazing job as well. So that put together the For True Podcast Side A. All
Okay.
5 episodes are available right now wherever you listen to podcasts.
Now, see, I kind of like that idea, and that seems like it's a newer idea to drop kind of the episodic podcast all at the same time like that. You see that a little bit on video formats, like on Prime and Netflix and things like that, where Hulu, where they
Absolutely.
might drop like 5 at a time and then give you a month or so and 5 at another time, and it allows you to go really long format and then break it up kind of into. I mean, each episode, how long is it? Is it approaching an hour or more, or what is it?
Yeah, it's in between 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
We have one that goes a little bit longer to into the 50 range, but they're not, terribly long. And we don't exhaust the point, and
Right.
we're not a just thinking 3-hour long podcast. I love my guys.
Yeah.
They just recorded a 3-hour long podcast Saturday. I was like, God, man, I don't even know how y'all do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's more of the 30 to 45 minute, but it's like I said, it's episode after episode, but you can knock it all out And like you said, we kind of got the idea from the Netflix and from the, the streaming services, because that actually people prefer that,
Yeah.
instead of having to wait a whole nother week. If I got more time, I want to keep listening. And that's
Yeah.
what people do when they find your podcast. They all like, me found a podcast. They go all the way down and try to listen all the way through. So we just kind
Absolutely.
of did it that formula.
Yeah, I think it's really smart to be in that under hour, closer to that 30 to 45 minute range. I notice, and I've said about this on the podcast before, when you look at analytics, most of my listeners, they'll drop off at like the 40-minute mark, and whether that's because I'm a on the way to work podcast, or they just can't take me for any more than 40 minutes, and they go, okay, I don't want to listen to this guy anymore. Which I've been told that too. I realized very quickly, and we talked about this almost 4 years ago. I was, you had this idea like, I'm gonna be this Joe Rogan long format. You do a couple 2.5 hour podcasts in a week, and you go, I'm going to not only run out of things to say, but I'm just belaboring things that don't need to be belabored, to where I've found, and I think you would agree with this, tell me what you think. I think being more succinct, being more efficient with your words, packing a lot of value into a shorter amount of time, people seem to respond to that. They go, hey, look, give me the thoughts, the opinions, the scriptures, whatever it is we're talking about, but you can package it in a really nice 30 to 40 minute audio package, to where, sure, you could, if that's the podcast you want to go for, where you're hanging out for 3 hours and things are belabored. But if not, I found people really go, that hit good. 32 minutes, driving to work, driving back, right before I went to bed, whatever, and got everything in there. Have you kind of found that? Because like you said, 10 years on B.A.R, you're starting this new, and I know you've helped many, many podcasters out in the podcasting reformed world. You're kind of known as the godfather that will go around and kind of help and give suggestions and point people to the other people they need to network with. Have you found that to be the case? I mean, where do you land when you're looking at episode length and things like that? What's your philosophy on that?
No, absolutely. Same as you. And I always tell people, you want the average commute is 30 to 45 minutes, and that's a good place to land. And I always joke because, I call myself the expert, man, and my most popular podcast and most notable podcast breaks all the rules that I tell everybody else to do. I say keep it 30 to 45 minutes. I say drop every week, or be more succinct, or or have a cadence. And then Just Thinking comes through, and they have 3-hour episodes, and then they drop whenever they feel like it, and there's no cadence, there's no, and they're the most successful. But for us regular folks that aren't dealing with two geniuses behind the microphone, for us regular folks, 30 to 45 minutes is a really good cadence. Like you mentioned, when you're developing your podcast, you want it to be poignant. You want to be able to come in, hit your topic. You want to keep it moving. You don't want dead space. You want to continue to keep people engaged, as well as your guests. If you have a guest, you don't want it to be long, dry, or drawn out. You want to make sure that you keep them engaged, keep a cadence to your podcast. That's something that I pride myself in, is cadence, and just making sure that everything has a rhythm.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point for those listening too, that might be listeners of podcasts, consumers, or even have the one themselves. I was definitely not saying you can't do long format, because there are some guys out there like Daryl and those guys, Just Thinking. I mean, that works for them, because man, when I discovered them, and I know you're involved with that podcast. I can't remember exactly how, but you can let us know. I remember it had to at least be 4 years ago. I don't know how old that podcast is, but I was an early adopter, and I remember I was out doing yard work while listening to it, and I had to keep rewind. I say rewind. I'm from the 80s, but going back, tracking back on it. And I couldn't get my work done because it was so heavy and so thought-provoking. And I'm going, hold on, I got to listen to that 2 minutes again. What did he say? And I'm out there raking and doing stuff, and I go, okay, I can't. This isn't a podcast where I can do something else while I'm listening. I literally sat down and probably went through 2 or 3 of their couple-hour podcasts right in a row. And shout out to them, because I've benefited greatly from some of the social stuff that they talk about, the gospel stuff they talk about, even their takes that, you could say are political, but they're not really. They're the gospel. It's just that, the world has become more religious. I don't think the church has become more political. It's my take on it. But what is your role with Just Thinking? Don't you, I think, produce or something, or I couldn't remember.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a small role. I'm
Small
I'm
role. Okay.
just the person that put them together. I was
See, I didn't even know
I
that.
was already friends. Yeah, man, I was already
Funny.
friends with Virgil. We met through a Facebook page that I started, man, a lot of years ago now.
Yeah.
And we were already friends. And then a good friend of mine, McKinley, sent me Daryl's article on wokeness in the Black church. And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
interviewed him. And when I interviewed him, I was like, man, I was like, you sound like Virgil. Like y'all talk about this topic alike.
Yeah.
And so I told Virgil, and Virgil was like, man, I would love to guest host your show and interview him for a part 2. And we did. And when I heard them together, I was like,
It's like, we
oh,
got
I
something here.
think we got a podcast here, man. Yeah, man. So
Well, look at you.
yeah, I pretty much put Just Thinking together.
He
And
said just a small role. I just created the
just a
thing.
small role.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, for real though. That's funny.
Yeah, man.
Okay. I knew I didn't.
That's my role.
In the back of my head, I thought it was something like that, but I didn't want to state it, on the recording unless it was accurate. But I'm glad that you cleared it up. Yeah, but yeah, another podcast that people should go check out. And like you said, you don't know when they're dropping and for how long, but when you do, you go, yeah, I'm going to listen to it because they provide some unbelievable content, just like you do. So
amazing.
You got the new podcast, For Truth. You can find it anywhere. Do you want to direct people to a website, or what are we doing?
Yeah, man. No website. We're going the poor man route. So just for your favorite podcast catcher. Or if you want to do the whole link tree thing, you can do link tr.ee/4 truth podcast. And it's pretty much a direct link to whatever your podcast app you like to use. But yeah, man, we're super excited about it, man, because it's different. It's a different format. And then I just love the musical aspect of it. And I told the guys, I was like, man, if nobody listens to this, man, I'm just proud that, because it's like I've been doing podcasts for so long, man, and just for me to step outside of the box and just do something untraditional. And the irony is we recorded the episodes like almost a year ago, and we're just dropping it now. Like I literally wanted to take my time and figure out how I wanted to orchestrate it before I release it, because I've been the, record tonight, drop tomorrow guy. I've been the, let's hurry up and produce whatever. I've been that guy. So I was like, this time I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna find the right producer. I'm gonna find the right lyrics. We're gonna get the right graphic. We're gonna, and it's been an amazing journey.
I'm laughing because that's what we're doing right now. I think this will drop Wednesday. We're recording on a Monday, so it got about 48-hour turnaround, baby.
I've been there, bro.
Yeah, but because that's a tough thing too. People don't realize for 10 years almost for you, and then almost every week having some type of new guest on for you. I've been doing it. There'll be 4 years in April, and sometimes you're going, you want to grab someone that has some value, that can speak to something. They have to be good in a conversation. You might have, and then you get some guys that you get on and you go, this is going to be awesome. And you go, ugh, I don't know. You get some surprise ones. And then, like you said, you get some that you go, man, I can't wait to have you on. And they're like, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm not good in front of a camera or a microphone. And you go, oh, come on, in conversation. We can, so it's a struggle.
So I'm going to ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
What's worse, the guest you got to drag and pull stuff out of, or the guest that talks too much and don't give you the breaks that you need? Which one is the toughest for you?
You know what's funny? I would probably say I don't notice the one that I have to drag out of, because I'll just talk over them, and it'll be 80% me talking, which is fine. But probably the listeners going, gotcha. Shut up, Greg. But the one that talks over is hard too, man. I got a touch of ADD. I'm extroverted. It's like you go for more than 5 minutes straight. I only got the first 2 minutes. I'm in my head thinking about when I edit this, what am I, and then all of a sudden there's silence, and I go, oh, we're still talking, So, it's tough either way. It's got to be balanced, I think.
Yeah. I had one guest. I love the brother. His name is Greg. We're good friends, and he was nervous, but I asked him one question. And like SpongeBob, 30 minutes later, he was still talking from one question. I was like, when he finished, I was like, All right, guys, good episode. We'll check you next week.
Oh, I got a good one for you
man.
too, since we're just having a conversation here. So, man, this was like 3 years ago. So maybe we were like 8 months, 9 months, and this is when I still had Jason Hamlin, the former co-host, with me on the podcast. And there was a guy at a Ford factory in Detroit who yelled at Biden when he came and visited and said, like, hey, you can't take our guns, or something about the union or something, right? And it blew up. It went viral. He was in his bib overalls and he mouthed off to Biden, and he was on Fox News and this, right? Well, he comes to a rally in Monroe for something. So I get him aside. I said, hey, I'm about 20 minutes south. You want to come do an episode? Well, before they say, you a believer? He goes, yeah, I'm a believer. I'm conservative. I go, this could be interesting, right? He's got a little viral stuff going on. Well, I'll ask him some questions. We get down here. We start recording. It is like night and day. He starts talking about, he's like trying to be an intellectual. He's like talking about mysticism and Jordan Peterson, but not good. It was like he didn't understand any of it. And he was trying to almost, me and Jason are sitting there, and we just looked at each other at about 55 minutes in, and we're like, none of this is usable. I mean, we literally said, thank you. 2 hours later, as soon as we cut, my co-host, he was like, I got to go. I got my kids at home. I'm like, you son of a gun, leaving me here with this guy. He talked for another 45 minutes, right? I mean, it just went right in the recycle bin. I didn't even post it. None of it was usable. I mean, I'm not talking bad about the guy, but it was not what he had presented. And you just go, well, you live and learn. That's what I get for trying to chase a viral moment, right? In my head, I go, this is going to be unbelievable. And then it turned out to be garbage.
I got,
you got me
can
beat?
I share one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I got you beat. So I got reached out on Instagram. This guy, I mean, he looked the part. He looked performed. He was quoting the right quotes and everything. We got on. And it was going good, all going good. You know how at the end I ask you, like, okay, who you like to listen to? Your favorite pastor, whatever. He's like, yeah, like T.D. Jakes and Miles. I mean, he was naming all the Word of Faith pastors. I was like, what? What?
You're like, what happened?
He was like, yeah, I like Mike Murdoch, and I was like, yeah, yeah, man. So. When we finish, I'm not gonna be able to use this. Just I appreciate your time. He was like, I can say somebody else. You want to re-record it? I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, we appreciate you, brother.
So that's
so funny.
That's a crazy thing too, because in person, when I'm talking to people, I can be a little confrontational. I like debate. I like discussion. I like playing devil's advocate even. I find you can learn a lot about someone by the way that they argue or debate, or, questions bring out things. Yeah. But I'm not really that way on the podcast, because I don't know if people want to listen to me just, argue blindly about something. I try not to be too confrontational. Right. There's been a few moments where, like, Sam Storms came back on after he defended Bethel music, and he said, well, Bill Johnson isn't a theologian, so we can't really hold him to a high standard. He said, dude, he's a shepherd. He's a pastor, So there's a little pushback on some of those episodes. But for the most part, I really don't bring people on that I'm going to have a really hard opposing view with. I'm not against it. I mean, if someone wants to, here's the funny thing, and you might have experienced the same thing. I've had people that will argue with me online or say something, or right, and I'll go look at their Twitter or their Facebook or whatever, see some of the videos they post and go, hey, come on the podcast. Let's talk about it. You can talk about it in front of 50,000 people this month that'll listen to it. It'll go out on YouTube. It'll go out everywhere. Make your points there so it can be recorded, and I'll make my counterpoints. Not one has ever taken me up on it, because a lot of these, keyboard cowboys, when they can Google and they can type it and they're sitting in their room doing it, boy, do they love to talk smack. But it's like you invite them on a public forum that's recorded that we can talk about. They don't seem to be too interested. So I haven't gravitated that way. But let's shift gears here as we put bookends on this. Because I want you to do a Fresh 10 segment with us. Because I don't think have you ever done a Fresh 10 segment with us? Get to know you a little bit more. 10 fresh questions. All right, good. First of all, though, I'm looking at if anyone's watching this, watching the video podcast behind you, you got some vinyl. I got to know what that vinyl is. What are you listening to?
Yeah, man. So, like I told you before we hit record, I got 4 albums kind of on display. Okay. And it kind of alludes to my taste in music. The very top, that shirtless guy, is D'Angelo. Voodoo album came out in 2000, my senior year. Very pivotal album.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's special to me. Right beside it is the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill,
Yep.
another classic
Classic.
neo soul. Yeah, man. And right under the Lauryn Hill is Jay-Z's Blueprint album.
Yep.
Came out in 9/11 2001. Another, soundtrack of my life. And then right beside that, you can't see it because of my work hat, but is the Wu-Tang Forever album, double
Wow.
disc.
Those are 4 good albums, man. Well, you want to what? We jumped the shark a little bit because that is one of the questions, but maybe it'll change a little bit. But you want to stick around for like a couple more minutes and do some fresh 10? All right.
I'm here for it.
Here we go.
Yo, can we kick that one more time? Let's go. I'm fresh. I'm fresh.
All right, it's the Fresh 10 segment with Dawain Atkinson. It's where we ask him 10 fresh questions. He don't know what they are, but we do. And we're going to find out a little bit more about him so you can get to know a little more about him. All right, question number 1, rapid fire. You don't have to think too long about it. First of all, what city and state did you grow up in, and how did that affect your childhood?
I grew up in Turkey, North Carolina, and it is farmland. And the way that affected my childhood is that made me a hard worker and not afraid of the heat because my parents put me out there as a kid in the tobacco fields, in the corn fields, all of those places. And
No way.
That's me.
So you're getting that heat in the
man.
field. Man, okay, yeah, good work ethic. Hey, go read Proverbs. It talks about a good work ethic a lot. It's a godly thing. It's a good thing. All right, question number 2. What's your favorite funny story to tell people, or maybe a joke you have, or a funny story to loosen them up, or maybe you're in a networking situation. Do you have a go-to funny story about yourself, or even something you could share here?
Absolutely. So my favorite joke is. How do you find Will Smith in the snow?
I don't know
you
how.
Look for Fresh Prince.
Okay.
That's my favorite joke.
Oh, he's coming with jokes.
I got the air horns.
You got an air horn. Okay, I like that. That's a good icebreaker. I like the what do you get when you cross an agnostic, an agnostic, an insomniac, and a dyslexic? A guy who stays up all night wondering if there really is a dog. It's a little wordy, but my reform brothers like it. We like terms and definitions. Man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right, question number 3, rolling right along. Going back in time, you're in the DeLorean. The flux capacitor is fluxing. Are you going back in time to visit your great grandchildren, or are you going ahead in time to visit your I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Great-great-grandfather or great-great-grandchildren in the future? You going back to visit, or you going forward to visit?
That's tough. I'm going forward. I'm going to go forward.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I
want to, because I'm going to say why. I'm going to go forward because I want to see what effect I had on
that's good. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that question's always about split. I got half going back, half going forward. Number 4, what's something people would be surprised to know about you? They go, man, I wouldn't think that about Dawain.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so a lot of people would not know this about me unless they know me personally is when I was in college, every summer I used to work for Mount Olive Pickle. So if you are familiar with Mount Olive Pickles in the grocery store, I used to work at that factory every summer.
Those pickles got the crunch, man.
Yeah, bro, they're the best.
They're good.
You know how people would say they work places they can't eat them? No, I still eat a Mount Olive Pickle right now.
Very interesting. A pickle factory. I like it, man. We're learning a lot today. All right. We don't do top 3 albums on the deserted island. We do top 3 artists. So you can bring as many albums from that artist, but only 3 artists is going to the deserted island with you. Who are they? Now you had 4 hanging behind you, but you can bring 3 artists, any amount of their albums with you to the deserted island. Who are they today?
All right, so I'm definitely sticking with D'Angelo.
Yep.
Definitely sticking with Jay-Z.
Okay.
And my third,
I thought Lauryn Hill might
Y'all don't judge.
be the second one for sure.
Well, she
I mean,
don't have it. She don't have a big catalog.
Oh,
she
that's
don't have
true.
a big catalog.
Yeah, but what she
I'll
does
be
have is pretty
limited.
good.
It is amazing, but I got to think about longevity. I'm on a dessert
Okay,
island.
okay.
Like I got
I
to think about longevity. So I'm just thinking about it. Like we're on this reform. Y'all don't judge my music taste. I'm sorry. Like my
Hey.
playlist is still getting sanctified.
Art is to glorify God. All right, and some of those guys
Absolutely.
we're gonna get them for the kingdom one of these days. God will get them.
Absolutely. All right. So my number 3 is tough. All right. Okay. I'll make a decision.
This was the hardest question on it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I got it.
Go ahead.
My third one's gonna be Lil Wayne. I'm be done.
I like Lil Wayne, man. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I listen to him talk and his perspective on the world, and I go, brother, man, just surrender to Christ. You're so close there with the way he sees the world.
So close, bro.
So close. You're like, And yeah, I have a tender spot for him too, because when he talks to me, he had a rough childhood, and then, I don't know. You just hear him talk, and you go, man, he's right there. But we'll keep praying for him. All right. Question number 7. Getting through it. I'm sorry. Question number 6. Favorite thing to do when you just want to relax? We chilling out in front of some Netflix. We reading the Bible. We going to smoke a cigar. What are we doing? 2 fingers of burnt.
Smoke a cigar.
Okay. Yeah.
Smoke a cigar.
I like it.
Because I'm in bodybuilding prep, and so I can't drink bourbon right now. So yes, cigar is the go-to.
Which we didn't even talk about that.
No.
The before and after pictures of you, brother.
Better.
Man, if you guys are watching this, whatever he's wearing doesn't do him justice. He got jacked over the last couple of years, and then helping other people do it too. I mean, you got you got all kinds of testimonials that just shout that out. Who are you doing that with? What's the company?
Yeah. So I work for E2M Fitness.
Okay.
And it's e2mfitness.com. And we specialize in 8-week transformation. And I went from over 250 pounds to currently 187 as of this morning.
Yeah.
And my wife also lost over 40 pounds, and plenty of I could think of right now, Reform brother, Pastor Jeff Sims lost a lot of weight. He came under as well, man. So yeah, just a amazing 8-week transformation program if you're looking to get healthy and fit. E2mfitness.com.
8-week, but let me just tell you, let me just give you a compliment, because I've been I've been on the internet for 15 plus years on social media, and you know how many times I see someone do something and then fall right back to where they were. You are years and years, man. You're going on like year 3 or 4. Yeah. The guys and gals that you are helping years, it's like they don't go back. It's like once they start with you, it's like a lifestyle, and it's not some fad thing. Yeah. It's not, I'm not eating carbs for 6 months. It's like compliments to you, man, because it's so hard to keep that going.
Yeah. Because what we do is we don't say don't eat, do this, whatever. We teach you discipline. We teach you how to be disciplined by training you for 8 weeks on how to be disciplined. Once you get that discipline, then it's easy to maintain, because now you have it's a lifestyle. It's not necessarily a fad.
Yeah, that's where I am right now with getting healthier. And I went for years. It was, well, if I do this or eat this way, and it goes, oh, no, let's go to the root cause, which is a man without self-control is like a city without walls. Like, dude, I stay up too late. I don't eat right. I'm just lack of discipline in general in my life. And that transfers down into health too. So sounds like you guys are going after the root of the problem. Let's get discipline, and then good things follow after that. Very cool. We'll link that up to you guys in the episode. If you're listening to this, they can click on that, check that out too, if they want to get in touch with you on that, because you're a man of many talents. All right. Number 7, what do people misunderstand about you the most? What do they look at you and they think you're one way, and you go, well, I don't think I'm really that way, or I don't, like people just assume I'm a jerk, just because of the way I talk directly. I say what I want. I don't really care about your feelings too much, but I'm not really a jerk. I do care. I just, the Lord's bringing me along. He's sanctifying me in my speech. How about you?
Yeah,
what's something that people would misunderstand about you?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that I am, I don't know, like to myself, or quiet, in public.
Yeah.
Until, and I guess I kind of had a persona, And I kind of get that from my dad, that stoic look, because you don't know who's who and what's what. So I get that a lot. It's like I didn't think really was, but once they see me smile and we start talking, they know that I'm definitely a people person. I'm not an introvert. I love being around people. I love crowds. I have no issue in any of those spaces. Just my persona sometimes look like that. That's not the case.
Yeah, I would say from the times I've mentioned talk to you, I would say measured. Measured in your speech. Yeah. Love people, love talking, but you're not gonna, you don't have diarrhea of the mouth, which is a good thing. No. I look at people who have measured speech and I go, Lord, I would like to attain that. I'd like to not necessarily talk as much, but have measured in my speech, slow to think, you know what I mean? Or slow to talk and long to think about things. So I think it's a good thing. I like it. Number Absolutely. 8. We got 3 more here. Number 8, if you could sit down for a cup of coffee with any historical figure outside of Christ, who would it be and why? Can't be Christ. Everyone says, let's go. We want to,
I know.
Paul's a close second. A lot of people say Paul, but it doesn't even necessarily have to be biblical. Even if it's a historical figure that you just find very interesting, you don't have to play Christianese.
Here's mine, man. Yeah, no. It's kind of it's going to go in that direction because this is legit, legit. I wish I could sit down and have a cup of coffee with R.C. Sproul, man. Singing.
Me too. That's why we like each other. I miss that brother.
Yeah, I miss him, man. And whenever my podcast was starting is when his health declined. And I got in really good with Ligonier. Like they love me at Ligonier, but they was like, we can't do it. I know you want to have him on your. They said we'll give you everybody on staff, but we can't do it. And I was just like, no.
So it's so funny you say that because. Look, there's a lot of people who are, I never got swept up with celebrity or when a celebrity dies, you go, everyone's, I'm so, RC hit me a little bit because, he marked my life with some of his videos and sermon lessons and stuff that I came up on. I never met the guy, but you're just like, he's just spitting wisdom and all these things. And that one hurt a little bit, but I did get to have Buck Parsons on last year. And then also, who's the executive? Chris Larson. No, Buck Parsons, Chris Larson. And they got to tell some RC stories. And I was like, okay, at least I got to hear some firsthand, on the podcast, we're talking about RC. And I identify with that name.
Yeah, both of those guys are good friends. Like I told you, they love me over there. Like they both been on the podcast. Actually, both been on twice. It's just the timing, bro. Like if his health wasn't as bad, I would have got that conversation that I always wanted. So definitely cup of coffee with RC.
There you go. All right, number 9. I changed the title of this. I used to ask what's your favorite movie, but I changed the wording because I think this fits better. What is a movie that you've watched multiple times that you could just sit down and put on and go, I've seen it 10 times, I'm going to watch it 11th time. That tells me a little bit more than just saying favorite movie.
Easy. Life. Eddie and Martin.
Yeah.
That is, I can watch. I'll watch. Like just bringing it up. I'm gonna go watch it when we hang up. Like,
can I tell you something easily. Though? The first, second, third, fourth, and fifth time I watched that movie, as someone who hates injustice, I couldn't even focus on the comedy because I knew that things like that had happened in the past. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it's a comedy.
I do.
It's a comedy, but that literally going to prison for a crime that didn't happen because of the color of your skin. Like I was like so mad. I'm like, I want these guys out. I want the movie to end. They need to be able to put to death whoever put them in there for all those years. Like the injustice in me couldn't enjoy it the first couple times. Now I'll go back and watch it.
They need to get Sheriff Pike, man.
That is a good.
I know all that, bro. Listen, I probably could recite that movie, bro. Like,
weren't they both great in that movie?
Just that good. Amazing together. The whole cast, man. Because I'm a I guess side joke kind of guy. Like I like the subtle stuff that people don't like laugh out loud about, man. Yeah, like the subtle stuff in movies.
Right.
That's what me and my partners we'll recite like parts that people don't even think funny in the movie.
Right.
Just because it's just that little subtle stuff, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, Life easily can watch it 100 times.
Go check it out. Okay, last question for Fresh 10. What book outside of the Bible should everyone just pick up and at least take a look at and read? One book outside of the Bible, hey, take a look at it. Be worth your while to flip through it at least, or heck, read it all the way through.
I'm keeping the theme, man. I'm sorry, the holiness of God, man.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the first, because I'm not an avid reader. My listeners know that. Everybody know I'm not that guy. I don't pretend to be that. Like, I built this whole thing on my passion for truth, my passion for sound biblical doctrine, not on my scholarly abilities.
Right.
But the very first book that I ever read front to back, that was Reform, in Reform camp, was, Holiness of God. So
Holiness of God is great. Truths We Confess is another one that I have actually right here on the shelf. Great one. Do you listen to books at all?
Yeah,
do you audio?
Yeah, I'll listen. Mm-hmm.
So see, I don't.
I'll do it.
Okay. We're finishing this up and we're belaboring this episode, but I got to know. So I don't like it when people judge me if I listen to a book over read a book. And my wife does this a little bit.
Why would they judge you?
Well, no, I'll say I've read that book, and she might say, or a friend might say, well, you've listened to that book. And I said, well, all you did, look, I used my ears and you used your eyes. What's the difference? Why is your sense better than my sense? I listened to it. You looked at it. Right? And people still have this thing with audiobooks like, well, you didn't really read it. And I go, hey, listen. Why are we judging, right? Equity, dude. This is wokeness. You can't judge my ears over your eyes. I listen to, sometimes I just can't have the book in front of me. Sure, I prefer that, I guess, if I can have a book in front of me. But I'm saying, let's end this right now. Guess what? If you've listened to the book, you've read the book. All right? I'm declaring it right here on the Dead Men Walking podcast.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna flip it though. I'm gonna flip it. So why not say you listened to the book? Because when you say you read the book, you're diminishing what you actually did. Listening to the book, if it holds the same weight, then say I listened to the book.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
All right, you call me, I'll go. I'm not gonna say read it. If I didn't read, I'll say I listened to the book.
I mean, because it holds the same weight,
right?
It's the same knowledge. Because what you're doing is you're uplifting the thought of reading because it sounds prestigious.
Oh, I've mentioned this a few times, and you're the first one to bring that up. That's why we get you on this podcast, brother. See, we're figuring things out now. So by me saying reading, I'm making it feel like reading is better. So I say reading when, hey, no, I listened to it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So I got to start saying listening. We got to bring that listening up to reading.
It holds the same weight.
It holds the same weight.
It holds the same weight. You still got to, like you just mentioned, your ears are just as good as their eyes.
There we go. That's Fresh 10, guys.
Can we kick that one more time? Let's go. I'm fresh.
There we go.
I need those
I'm fresh.
There we go. Fresh 10 with Dawain Atkinson. All right, Dawain. Give us the social shout-outs. Give us where we can find you. Let's wrap this thing up. Get out of here. Obviously, we're going to link all this up for you guys listening or watching. You can click right down below in the description and find them. But go ahead and shout it out anyway.
All right, man. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or even Facebook, just at my name, Dawain number 21. 21 is my favorite number. So Dawain 21. For the 4 Truth podcast, man, the number 4, the word truth podcast. All the socials is 4 Truth Podcast everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then always, man, check out the B.A.R Podcast and the B.A.R Podcast Network. All of those folks, man, can be found at the B.A.R Podcast _network on Twitter, and then the B.A.R Podcast Network on Instagram, man. So super grateful to you, brother.
You too.
Let me come on, man. I shot a text to catch up and ended up getting on the podcast. You did one of my numbers. I'm usually that guy to do that, man.
Hey, I learned from the best, baby. Thanks so much for taking time out. Man. I know you're busy, man. Anytime the expert, the godfather of the Reformed podcasting world wants to come on, he is always welcome here. Dawain, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
God bless you, bro.
Yeah. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Dead Men Walking Podcast. As always, you can find us at dmwpodcast.com. Support us there. Check us out. Leave us a message. And social media is Dead Men Walking Podcast everywhere. Just type it in. You'll find us. As always, guys, remember the chief end of man. Glorify God and enjoy him forever. God bless. Be sure to check us out at dmwpodcast.com, where you can purchase the best and snarkiest merch on the internet, support the show, and leave us a review or message. Dead Men Walking can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Dead Men Walking Podcast, and on Twitter X at Real DMW Podcast. The Dead Men Walking Podcast is part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. For exclusive show content, be sure to download the PubTV app and become a member. If you're a business that needs to reach hundreds of thousands of potential customers in your demographic, podcast advertising might be for you. Send all inquiries to deadmenwalkingpodcast@gmail.com.
None your biscuits.